Good day, everyone. My name is Todd Letts. I'm CEO of the Brampton Board of Trade. And today I have the good fortune debates, and we have put together a series of 12 different debates for City Council, for Regional 8. Now, this is a very busy ballot. There are 13 candidates that have parts. We had Group 1 here yesterday, and you can view that on Facebook and detail and introduce the candidates here today and our business panel. It is tradition at the Brampton Board of Trade to acknowledge the land, the Huron-Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Ojibwe Chippewa peoples, and the land that is home to the Métis, and most recently, we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land, and by doing so, give our respect to its first inhabitants, regardless of age, ethnicity, gender, culture, identity, sexual orientation, beliefs, or land. Organized, informative, and impactful debates. Today's discussion will be focused on key business issues that are important to the success of Brampton's business. 1,500 business women and men that employ over 61,000 in all success at local enterprises and growth and acceleration. Is the Government and Community Relations Manager for Trios College. He also chairs our policy and government. John Verdangel is the principal owner of Just Instruments and is also on our board of directors and serves as our vice chair for internet. Of today's session is as follows. I should mention that our candidate that has arrived. I don't have an explanation for why other candidates have our invitation. Cindy Ann Williams did accept our invitation, but is not here today. And we received no response from the that have taken the time to prepare to debate. And we look forward to a very robust discussion with Jaskaran to provide opening remarks of about a minute, and we will also have an opportunity. Let's move directly to ask and invite Mr. Sun.
This campaign, this election we've been running, our message has been clear from the very beginning. It's about demanding better representation. Residents, when we've talked to them at the door, and we've knocked now almost by the infighting at council, they're frustrated and embarrassed by the headlines about council. They're frustrated by that no one else decided to show up, especially at the esteemed institution of Brampton Board of Trade. If I'm elected, you're getting
Sandhu. And for our voters, it's important that when you take a look at the ballot, there is more than one Sandhu on the list, and Sandhu. John?
Thanks, Todd. Your background positions you to help address it if elected to council.
Look, I think the single biggest issue is the same one that I hear at the doors every day. We have a broken where they have no access. Customer service is the most basic tenet of our responsibilities as elected officials. People want access. They want the ability to raise their concern. In fact, it's probably the least accessible when compared to our federal and provincial partners. Born in G-section, was raised in Heart Lake, live in Castlemore. I've seen every corner of this town. I've seen it grow immensely, and it needs to be better, and it needs to be better for my two young kids who were born here as well. And so that's why I'm running, and that's what I hope to deliver for residents of this fine city.
Thank you, Mr. Sandhu. Our next question is...
I foresee for Brampton in the next 4 years
is realizing that it's a big city and it needs to shake its small town mentality. It is embarrassing the level of discourse we have in this town. It's embarrassing when we see the headlines about this town. This is a city of champions. It really is. It's a place where people make a life for themselves. It's a home for newcomers. It's a home for folks like my parents who came here with nothing. That's the story that we need to share about this place. We have terrible PR issues in this town. And that needs to change, and I think it starts with strong leadership. It starts with the right voices inside council, and you have here with myself, someone that's been recognized by the Brampton Board of Trade, someone that has a fierce history of advocacy, both in the legal world as a lawyer and as an activist, and that's what I want to deliver and make sure we change.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sandhu. Mr. Jaskaran Sandhu. Viewers, we're having a robust conversation with City Councillor candidate Jaskaran Sandhu, Councillor candidate for Wards 7 and 8 City Council. Next question will be from John Cruikshank.
Thanks. Okay, so while the Main Street LRT extension is not directly in your ward, when it's approved and constructed, a deployment of buses from north-south routes to east-west ones will greatly benefit your ward. With that in mind, What criteria will you use to determine which LRT format to support?
Look, the question needs to be answered first, and so where I would like to anchor our conversation is the Queen BRT. Now, when we talk about the Main Street LRT, we're talking about essentially building a Brampton Union Station out of downtown Brampton that serves both Bramalea and the rest of this town and connects not only residents that live within the city, but with those residents from across the region. You know, it's maybe a little premature to say what route's the best, considering we have engineering studies underway, and the studies are looking at the two options, whether that's underground or surface, and I think there's merits for both. Once those studies come in, you know, you have with me someone who actually reads the reports, and will make an informed decision based upon the empirical evidence in front of us. But it's all about, at the end of the day, connecting this city end to end.
Thank you, Mr. Sandhu. Jaskrin Sandhu, City Council candidate for Ward 7 and 8.
Seek out the input of the business community and undertake proactive business engagement strategies to ensure that major council decisions are aligned with business priorities.
It starts with inclusive decision-making, and that's the basic tenet of any good government decision-making, is you bring stakeholders to the table, and it's not you dictating to stakeholders what the right direction is. It's about bringing stakeholders to the table to tell you, as government officials and as public servants, what is the best way to ensure we are generating economic activity in this city, we're generating jobs, and we're attracting job creators. We have been beaten up in the school. We get aggressive, and that starts with council. It's not just the mayor's office that should be doing the advocacy work. It starts with councillors aggressively pursuing good quality income-producing jobs and players into the city. And that's my hope, is that we approach this in an inclusive decision-making model.
Mr. Sandhu, a question for myself. You mentioned that Brampton is being beat up in the schoolyard by its neighbors. I'm wondering if you can elaborate on that. Specifically, a report came out recently measuring, benchmarking, the development approval times among GTA municipalities. And Brampton, it was found, takes more than a year to approve development applications, about 13 months on average in a neighboring municipality, Milton. What is your responsibility as a city councillor, and how might you accelerate development approvals, hold planning department to more accountability? Can you please comment on how we might no longer be beat up in the schoolyard?
City councillors are not there to serve the bureaucrats. City councillors are not there to serve the wonderful employees, mind you, of City Hall. City Council's purpose is to bring in good input from residents, from business partners, from stakeholders, from third-party activists, to ensure that the city's actually getting it right on the ground level. And sitting inside the ivory clock tower of Brampton, City Hall is not going to solve our issues. It's getting top. It's as simple as that. We are in the GTA. We're in the economic hub of this country, one of the largest economic hubs of the world. If we can't compete with our partners, then what are we here for, right? It's a missed opportunity. We have dynamic populations. We got one of the youngest, most educated populations in the country. We have newcomers coming in and adding more diverse skill sets. We are connected to major intermodal connections and points of transfer. We got the airport right on our border. Why are we still losing? It's because we have a city council that has become complacent and lazy and slow. And that's what we're trying to change with this new council. It's an opportunity for us to press reset and work with, again, wonderful people inside City Hall for residents that deserve better. And there's a lot of good councillors there at the table. We got to put aside the differences and the fractures and actually get to work.
Thank you, Mr. Sandhu. Next question from Mr. Cruikshank.
Sure. To poor hiring practices. What makes you think you can do a better job?
I'm in a unique position where I know both sides of the quote-unquote fractured council. Right? I did work in Mayor Linda Jeffrey's office. I spent about a year and a half there, where in the end I left as the senior advisor, and I helped stick-handle the university file. At the time, Ryerson's full university, and which is now TMU Med School. But during that time, I got the opportunity to work with a lot of councillors that you can currently put in the anti-mayor camp. Having said that, I know Patrick Brown really well too. I know a lot of the councillors that, again, at least perceive to be supportive of the mayor. assuming that we have a lot of the same folks sitting at the table next time, you have in me someone who can build bridges, but also someone who shoots it straight and get to work and be professionals. Because at the end of the day, this is a job, and residents are expecting us to work. And that's the hope that I have once I get in, with the skill set that I have and the relationships I have within City Hall, but also outside City Hall. I've managed and consulted politicians now sitting in Ottawa and Queen's Park as well. And so those relationships are important, ensuring that we're getting work done, and that we're also being friendly yet stern and professional when doing so.
Thank you, Mr. Jaskrin Sandhu. We are having a robust conversation with Mr. Jaskrin Sandhu, a candidate for City Council Wards 7 and 8. Mr. Converdanjo, do you have a question?
See, how important are the trade missions? And if like positive outcomes?
Look, I think, someone once said to me, decisions are made by those who show up, and that includes in the global arena. We are a big city, and as a big city, our presence should be felt and seen in trade missions. It should be seen in international level conventions. We need to sell ourselves. We need to be able to present ourselves in a way that is persuasive to job creators considering our city. There is no replacement, absolutely no replacement, to looking someone in the eye and shaking their hand to build real deep relationships. And so I would participate in trade missions. I would encourage a lot of trade missions from this city. Obviously, you have to analyze what the benefits of each one will be. This is not just building up foreign junkets for the sake of it, but we need to, when it's appropriate, take every opportunity to show ourselves on the international arena.
Thank you, Mr. Sandhu. John, further question?
Sure. So for the last number of years, City Council has when they do their budget, has adopted a 0% property tax increase. In your view, is this sustainable? And what plan do you propose to offer residents and businesses predictability when it comes to tax rates?
When you knock the doors and speak to residents, they're very frustrated with two things: levels of property taxes, especially when compared relative to our neighbors. Secondly, I think there is a perceived sentiment that there's no value for dollars. The services are not up to par for what we're paying for. And when you have those conversations at the door, and when they ask why are property tax way too much on residential stock to pay our way into development and building a future for ourselves. We've paved over and zoned over lands that should be kept employment. We failed at encouraging folks to consider Brampton as a destination for investments. Now, a lot of that has changed over the years, partly because of the leadership of the Brampton Board of Trade and others in City Hall. But there is a lag. We're behind the 8 ball. We have a lot of catching up to do. But that all has meant that, again, we're drawing water from the same well over and over again, and we got to keep digging deeper and deeper to get water. My hope is that we start, as a city council, correcting past mistakes as much as possible. Now, there's limitations to that, but that starts with developing in a meaningful way parts of this town where we can carry higher and getting serious about the Brampton 2040 vision. It means getting serious about bringing commercial, high-tech, high-paying jobs into the city so we build a tax base that can continue to sustain us. Is 0% sustainable till the end of time? No, it's not, right? And I think we have to have a real frank conversation about that, because at a certain point, something's going to have to give. You look at transit in the city, we're at 100% pre-COVID capacity. We need more service hours. That's not going to be free. Our recreational demands are higher than ever, especially for different sports that we don't have infrastructure for. That's going to cost money. We want to build a second and a third hospital. That's going to cost money. It's time that we're willing to have adult conversations, and that starts with property taxes. But at the current juncture where we are right now, we need to prove to citizens first that there's value for dollar before we...
A related question with respect to property tax and the budget, and related to an earlier question as well. You said earlier that you don't work for the bureaucrats. They work for the citizens, and you work for the citizens of Brampton. Last fall, during the budget process, the councillors did not get information in time to make well-informed. There is no 10-year capital forecast. There's no long. How will you ensure that you have the information you need in time?
This is a simple way to put it, and I know it kind of like blurs the edges a little bit here, but simply put, we're a board of fiduciary duty to ensure that the decisions it's making are grounded in good evidence and ample runway. That's one issue. Put that aside. But let's just assume everyone is reading. You need the time to do it. The demand to bureaucrats will be, from the outset, we need ample time to review, and then we need ample counsel, and as a city. And again, it provides stability to the business community and residents to understand what's coming down the pipeline. If we can't get that right, then we'll slide off a cliff eventually.
Thank you, Mr. Sandhu. Further question, Mr. Danjo?
It affects businesses of all sizes and from all sectors. How can we help businesses meet the
That's the first part of the question. What the tenants?
shortage of talent?
Talent. Okay. We're one of the fastest growing cities of the 10 largest cities in this country. We have the good fortune of attracting global talent to our board with a wide array of skills that are highly educated. There is an issue of connecting talent as a city to continue to attract the type of talent we need to keep growing. And so the issue begins, and the job is not to be an expert in everything, right? And I think that's the foolishness and the hubris that a lot of councillors engage in, and that's where mistakes start happening. Who knows the shortcomings? Where do we fill the gaps? And I think one of the equation is an issue that the city's been tackling for a very long time, is building a war job creators. It's a magnet for interesting dialogue and conversations, and the city has been missing that for a long time. I think the med school is a great step. I think we have some wonderful partners already in the community college space and elsewhere, and now it's about continuing to build upon that.
With the City Council candidate for Ward 7 and 8, Mr. Jaskran Sandhu. Last question to Mr. Cruikshank.
Expectations for Brampton and Peel. It's expected that the city is going to grow dramatically in the next 10 to 20. Housing is now a problem that all post-secondary institutions need to grapple with. What can the city do to help facilitate?
And it's a huge issue in every corner of Ward 7 and 8 in particular, and it surprised me a little bit actually, the older homes we got. And what surprised me was how quickly it was apparent to me that we have an issue with housing, who have been very vocal about the issues of things like rooming houses. Right? And I'm not talking about someone who's made a legal basement and has rented it out to some landlords that are numbered corpse and not really watching over the quality of. This is a big problem. And the city of Brampton has secretly become a study in the city either. A large chunk, I will say a vast majority of them, actually study outside of Brampton. City towns, they have robust student housing zoning. They have robust solutions around what student housing can look like and how high frequency, large occupant transportation, and the LRT and the BRT are some conversations right out the gate. Now those are investing more in the services we currently have and Brampton Transit, so that you can again maintain and carry the students from point A to point B. And there's not a catch-all solution here that's very easy that can shoot from the hip. But where we are failing currently is we're not even willing to have, again, the serious conversations of what the issue is. And again, I'm surprised how easy it was for me to figure this out, and how long-standing this issue has been over the last 4 or 5 years, and how little has been done about it, let alone how little has been spoken about it inside council chamber.
Thank you, Mr. Sandhu. I think it's very interesting that you describe Brampton as a university town. We have Algoma University that has tripled in size. We have Sheridan College that has 25-degree grant entry over the last 4 years in cybersecurity, in accelerators as well. And I found Brampton U seems to have been a controversial initiative, and there's all in order to construct and may in fact attract Brampton as a university town and its future. What might you do?
Huge thing, and it should be rightfully celebrated. And you know what? It's a major win of this council, of this term of council. It really is. I think conversations around Brampton U have obviously been messy. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of that. I obviously haven't been at the table for a lot of those conversations, but I think does paint a picture of why we need strong, independent, third-party type of ombudsmen, all things. We talk about Algoma, who's done a great job of investing in this city. Sheridan College, it goes without saying, has done great work in ensuring that its presence in the city is a good one. And I sat on the secretariat of the International Student Roundtable that the Sheridan College was leading with the city of Brampton, and I think there is a true desire to ensure that international students here are being serviced and served well. You have great conversations around Guelph Humber. What does that look like, right? And where does that actually go? Especially with conversations, how to not just advocate within City Hall, but advocate outside City Hall at Queen's office. It really isn't. And good councillors, both within City Hall that you can look at, and good government relations experience as someone who's done a lot of advocacy work, again, as someone who has campaigned and push for Brampton's fair share as far as post-secondary education goes. But beyond that too, healthcare, transportation, and proactive and pushing these conversations, that we're the ones carrying the puck, right? We're the ones holding possession of the puck. Lowercase has obviously led to the success of the med school. And so I think aggressive lobbying.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Joskran Sandhu. We're having a robust conversation as part of BizVote 2020 discussion. I will invite Mr. Sandhu for his closing remarks.
Look, the conversation begins and ends at demanding better. You look at this table, I think it's a perfect reflection of what's wrong at City Hall. Councillors not showing up, folks that need to deliver for the city. On October 24th, you consider me for City Councillor in Ward 7 and 8. You believe that I can be a strong, fiercely independent councillor for residents, so they continue to have the confidence in their leaders to do the right thing. So on October 24th,
Sandhu, City Council candidate for Ward 7 and 8. Thank you for your attention. And please, a reminder, vote on October 24th. Advance Facebook page, that's at Brampton BOT. As well, you can access it through bramptonbot.com, our website, bramptonbot.com, for the production of these 12 debates. They will be posted on our website. Strongly encourage you to for Brampton. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you again at another Board of Trade event.